Hey, welcome to another episode of the E-commerce Hotline. This is a special live on the scene edition. I'm your host, Maier Bianchi, founder of Maier, a full-service e-commerce agency based in Brooklyn, New York. I'm here live on East 5th Street in the East Village of New York City in front of J-Spec with Logan Miller, the founder of Only Wagyu, and it's a beautiful Sunday in March. We're blessed with this weather.
Yeah. If you need help with e-commerce but don't have time, call E-commerce Hotline. E-commerce Hotline. If you need help to make your store shine, call E-commerce Hotline. E-commerce Hotline. 888-499-3266. 888-499-3266. Wanna see you win? It's time for you to shine. Call E-commerce Hotline. E-commerce Hotline.
The E-commerce Hotline, brought to you by Maier.
And so Logan, tell us a little about Only Wagyu and why you're here and what led you to found Only Wagyu.
So that's a very interesting story, Maier. Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that. It was actually about 2 years ago when I was sitting in a restaurant very similar to J-Spec. It wasn't actually J-Spec,
Okay.
but I was sitting at a restaurant very similar. And I had thought at the time prior to that I had tried Japanese Wagyu before. I was severely mistaken. I had that dinner, it was amazing, but towards the end of it, I had tried Japanese Wagyu beef for the first time. And let me tell you, I was appalled by the taste, the texture, just everything about it was, from a meat enthusiast and a steak lover, it was by far the most incredible experience ever. And
So a transformative dining experience.
Absolutely, but even more so, I indulged so heavy that night that I came home. Well, before I came home, I indulged so heavy that night when they gave me the bill, I literally shit my pants, literally and figuratively. But it was so expensive that I just had so many questions. I asked, why was it so expensive? Where is it sourced? How is it sourced? How much do restaurants pay for it? How much does it sell for online? And then I went home that night and took the next 3, 4, 5 months, did as much research as I possibly could, answered all the crazy questions I ever had, and then I just started to create a Notion document. That's when I called you.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a really big move. And like, what did you have an entrepreneurial background? Is this your first foray into e-commerce and retail? Like, what led to this?
That's a great question. For my whole life, since I was even able to work, I've always been specifically in sales. Excuse me. Any different types of sales. I mean, I started with being a phone representative for a cruise line company that sold party tickets in New York City and all other cities in the U.S. And then most recently, actually, I worked for a credit card processing company as a in-person sales rep, dealing with bankers and small businesses around New York to help with their credit card processing. So to answer your question, I don't have very serious entrepreneurial experience because I don't have any other businesses that I've started. Obviously, like high school, college, I tried different entrepreneurial endeavors. None of them really worked well, and I kind of, when I got the job for the credit card processing company, I really focused all my time and energy on that, and I kind of gave up on my entrepreneurial dreams.
But this was always like lingering in the back of your mind.
It was always
right?
lingering because I grew up idolizing my older brother. And
Shout out to his older brother.
Shout out to Eddie Miller, and he's doing some really cool stuff. You guys should check out Space VIP. But I always grew up idolizing him, watching him, growing up watching him run different businesses, start businesses, talk to people. I was always fascinated by it. So I always said that, like, he would ask me, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I'd be like, I want to be an entrepreneur. But anybody who answers that question knows it's kind of embarrassing to say, because the next question is, what are you going to do? And when you're really young, you're in high school, whatever it is, it's a hard question to answer because, like, even if you say what you want to do, it's kind of like an unfathomable. It's kind of like, and I'll be honest, at the time I had no idea what I was going to do.
I can relate to that completely.
You know what I mean?
I can relate to that completely because I grew up in a family business, a Halloween store not too far from here.
Yeah, exactly.
And I knew I didn't want to, that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but I found my way into entrepreneurship anyway through web development, through e-commerce, and was like, hey, I like helping people. I want to start a business. And so that's kind of like that eureka moment, like the lightning bolt of the Wagyu meal was kind of like, oh, that's when you're like, I want to sell this,
exactly.
right?
So
that was like, this is worthy of my energy.
It's so interesting that you say that. Exactly. So like for all of my like sales experience, I always sold products that like I didn't 100% believe in. Obviously, like the products were good. I've used them before, that the products I sold, but they weren't something like I would die I wouldn't die right here for it. But when I tried Japanese Wagyu for the first time, and more specifically, then when I had the chance to try American Wagyu and Australian Wagyu, I knew right then and there that like this was the product I was going to take globally to the market and really. Yeah, we can get into that.
No, so let's pump the brakes right there for a second. So many consumers, as you dine in your favorite dining establishments and casual restaurants, fancy restaurants, you're going to see Wagyu on the menu, right, at your local steakhouse. But the term Wagyu, first of all, originated in Japan, right? It's a Japanese term.
Yes, so
it's a type of cow, or it's a type of beef.
So I'll stop you right there. The actual word Wagyu, it's two words, wa and gyu. Wa is short for Japanese, and gyu is short for cattle. So the real word is
Japanese cattle. Okay, so then this is about breeds of cattle from Japan, first of all. Then why do we have American Wagyu? Why do we have Australian Wagyu? And why are those not nearly as good as the real thing from Japan? What is the differentiating factor that makes Japanese Wagyu, which is obviously a Japanese cattle, so that's a little bit of a misnomer, but why is Wagyu from Japan the premium beef on the planet Earth? And by comparing, like, what is it, how do they know that? Yeah, let's dive into that, because then we'll come back to how that relates to why sell it. What's the opportunity?
So, before I let me preface by saying Japanese Wagyu, like Maier said, is the quote-unquote original. And why that is because in the early 70s, 80s, 90s, the Japanese government actually allowed for farmers to sell cattle live and ship them out by boat to, the two biggest countries that imported those cows were America and Australia. Okay. Farmers in America and Australia then took their domestic cows and breeded them and created a quote-unquote lineage that was half domestic beef, half Japanese Wagyu. And the farmers that ended up getting a lot of cows and could create a Wagyu product that is very similar, right? Like I've seen Wagyu products online that are super marbled, that look very similar, but they're still not up to par. And the reason that happens, right? So like that mainly happens in Australia. Why that is because Australia got way more of the cows than the U.S. did, and they were able to hold that lineage closer to Japan than America was.
And geographically, Australia is a little closer too. Yeah?
Absolutely, exactly. But also what makes it very different, I mean, just price by far. I mean, anybody that looks online or goes to a restaurant, when you look at American Wagyu or Australian Wagyu, it's significantly cheaper than Japanese Wagyu.
We're talking like 50% to 75% cheaper. Right?
Obviously, it depends where you go, what restaurant, so on and so forth.
Whoever's doing the markup.
If they're lying to you or they're telling you the truth about the products that they're selling. But I'll put it this way: Japanese Wagyu is probably 3 or 4 times more expensive. Just for me as a business owner to buy it wholesale is 3 or 4 times more expensive than, let's say, another butcher shop or wholesaler or whoever, a food distributor, were to buy Australian and American Wagyu beef. And not just that, I mean, there's a lot of other specific things that make it so different, and those are the...
It's also the food, right?
Well, the feed, exactly. The feed that the farmers...
Yeah, because even if you have a nice breed of cattle, but if you're feeding it garbage, the meat's you are what you eat,
Exactly. I mean, and there's a very, very interesting farm that we actually house their products for. It's a Kobe wine beef farm. Okay. And they actually feed their cows wine grapes, the grape leaves from a nearby wine distillery. What? And it actually makes the meat literally have this wine-like aftertaste. It's absolutely delicious. I suggest to all of you to try it.
So Kobe wine beef is that exclusive heat.
Yes, it's absolutely delicious. But more so, it's not just the feed. It's also the specific raising techniques. It's the refattening process. It's the
refattening process.
Yeah,
Mark that.
So they after the cow, before and after the cow slaughter, there's fattening processes at the slaughterhouse to give it even more marbling. And a big misconception, especially in the world, is like, hey, the more fat a piece of meat has, the worse it is for you health-wise. And even though if you were to compare a 1 pound USDA prime to a 1 pound A5 Japanese Wagyu, of course, calorically, like calorie-wise, Japanese Wagyu is going to be more caloric, sure. But if you look at nutrients, if you look at health benefits, if you look at all the things that Japanese Wagyu has as benefits comparatively to the terrible meat that there is in the U.S. with USDA Prime and all that other stuff, it's not even even close. So there's definitely a lot of factors that go into why it makes it so different. But
okay, so then, keeping with that theme, how is Wagyu differentiated? Meaning, like, is there, like you mentioned, a grade A5? What does that exactly mean? And then within that, is there other systems to describe the other properties of the Wagyu?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So in Japan, there's a grading system, the Japanese beef grading system, and it is between all the Japanese Wagyu is either A3, A4, or A5.
Okay.
A3 is the least fatty and the most similar to, let's say, USDA Prime meat, where it's way less fatty, but it still has that umami Japanese rich taste, and it's still very well marbled, but it's A3. It's obviously cheaper, more affordable, and then as you go up closer to A5, it's the same process, right? A4 is more fatty, more expensive. A5 is the pinnacle of the pinnacle of Japanese Wagyu beef, the most expensive. I mean, one of the most expensive. Obviously, there is Kobe beef, which is on the market, and Kobe beef comes in A4 and A5, but A5 Kobe beef is the most expensive beef on the entire planet.
So is that Kobe was such a popular prefecture of meat distribution and raising cattle that they got their own brand?
Yeah, so
they don't even necessarily sell it as Wagyu, like Kobe beef, but it really is Wagyu also.
Yes, it is Wagyu, but they've done such a good job with branding and really getting their name and their product out there.
Yeah.
I mean, like you guys know, almost a lot of restaurants you go to, they'll say Kobe beef. What I'll tell you is I'll give you a piece of advice. Definitely think twice about who you're buying Kobe beef from, especially at a restaurant, because only 67 restaurants in the entire United States are 67 are certified to carry and sell Kobe certified Wagyu beef.
Meaning if it isn't one of those 67 restaurants, that means it's been through another set of hands, or it may not even be legit.
It may not even be legit, exactly.
Oh, wow.
And this is from a couple months ago, 67. There might have been a couple.
Of course.
There might have been a couple
But
restaurants
the point
that got
is
added. Yes,
exclusive.
exactly. It's exclusive. And J-Spec is obviously one of the restaurants that carry.
Shout out to J-Spec.
Shout out to J-Spec. They carry it, and on their menu, just for reference point, their A5 Wagyu Kobe beef signature steak goes for $180 for 3 ounces. So 60 bucks an ounce. That comes out to
a little medallion.
That's a little medallion.
And that's pre-cooking weight.
Yeah, that's pre-cooking weight. That comes out to about $960 a pound. So at retail. And just even more for reference, their regular A5 Wagyu beef, not the Kobe, is so we have an Ozakai beef strip loin that's $75 for 3 ounces. $75 for 3 ounces.
My man's doing math on the fly here.
Is roughly $400 per pound instead of $960. So you guys could clearly see there's a huge price difference in between Kobe and A5.
So even in the Wagyu world, there's tons of differences, and through learning about Only Wagyu, I've learned that each prefecture in Japan has its own standards and own ways of raising cattle, and different flavors that come out of that.
The biggest difference I can name is like from the difference between like southern Japan and northern Japan. So we carry a prefecture called Hokkaido, and Hokkaido is called Hokkaido snow beef. Shout out to them. The reason why is because it always snows in Hokkaido, and the beef marbling actually has a snowflake type look. And it tastes, in my opinion, it tastes meatier and firmer than comparatively to like Miyazaki, which Miyazaki is one of the southernmost points in Japan, where it never snows and it's like beautiful weather all the time, and pretty much all the time. Yes, exactly, tropical Japan. We have a lot of customers that love Hokkaido, and I know a lot of people that love Hokkaido because it's one of those prefectures that's so far north, it actually tastes very different from like the other ones, right? Like if you have like,
Connoisseurs.
let's say for example, you have like Miyazaki Kagoshima.
Okay.
Miyazaki Kagoshima, very, very close in proximity. Obviously, it varies from farm to farm, different techniques, different feed, of course, right? But at the end of the day, it's going to be very similar because like a climate is also a very big aspect of how the cattle is raised, how it's, you know, how it reacts to its raising process and how it's killed afterwards and so on and so forth.
Yeah, every little aspect of it. Yeah.
Absolutely, exactly. So there's obviously many differences. Each prefecture has its own kind of like branded Wagyu. Right now we carry 7 different prefectures, but we're going to be doing a couple updates to the website. So we're going to actually not be doing 7 prefectures anymore. We're going to be doing 3 prefectures, and we're going to be adding a whole bunch of new products to the line, which different cuts from the whole carcass, not just the ribeye fillet and the strip, but we're also going to be adding select brands like the Kobe wine that we said, like the
so like the Nike of Wagyu.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
like the top standards in the
if you will, the Louis Vuitton of Wagyu,
There
or
you go. That's a better
the Bugatti of Wagyu. The Bugatti of Wagyu is like Kobe, and then we have like, you know, like the Ferrari and the Lamborghini, which is like the Kobe wine and the Omi beef.
Okay.
Omi beef is like actually the oldest known lineage and association of Wagyu beef.
How
And
old?
over 1,500 years. Apparently, it was fed, this same lineage was fed to the samurais that were reigning during the Edo period in Japan, you know, many years ago. So we also have that.
So when Europe was getting its bubonic plague on and finding the Renaissance, Japan was just cruising with this lineage
eating delicious Wagyu before anybody even knew Wagyu was like really good. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's very culturally and ceremonially relevant to the history. And now, what would make a guy from Brooklyn want to sell direct-to-consumer Wagyu beef to the American public and beyond? You know, like, this was something that's your baby, your dream, you're clearly invested in, so passionate about it. And,
I actually have the
and
perfect answer for you.
And just one quick thing, that also passion, you can see passion is the common theme we're seeing across the board, no matter what you do. If you're not passionate about it, it's gonna be hard to persevere. So go ahead.
When I had first started this business, I obviously had a lot of samples, and I tried the beef myself all the time. But the most important kicker to me was when I went to my friends and my family, and I got the most incredible reactions. I mean, like, literally, I sat them down, I told them what it was, and their faces just lit up. It just lit up with emotion, and every time, it doesn't fail. Every time I give Wagyu beef to somebody that like either hasn't tried it yet before, or is like new, or like, you know, loves steak but like hasn't tried it, just such a genuine positive reaction.
Yeah, like unlike anything.
Exactly. And the way I see it is, right, like most of the time you're only going to get that positive reaction when it's brought to you on a plate at a restaurant. Obviously we're here.
Yeah, you're not always able to. Yeah, because at home you're so afraid, you know, it's like you don't know how, or you're not just gonna go buy a nice cut of A5 Wagyu at the local shop, right?
Because they, you know, like a lot of people are afraid to fuck it up or overcook it or all these different things. And what I realized in my experiences, especially with like, you know, like starting a business, doing content at home, cooking at home, what I realized it's so cool is that you almost can't fuck up A5 Japanese Wagyu.
Like no matter what you do, it
is so delicious that like if you even cook it like medium, even if you cook it medium well and then you save it, put it in the fridge, you cook it the next morning, put it on eggs, which is crazy, of course. But I've had the privilege of doing this because you know, I've had so much Wagyu beef in my fridge at one point. It's still phenomenal, absolutely delicious. I even recommend, you know, like I know a lot of people in the steak community that swear by medium rare. I wholeheartedly would suggest any person trying A5 Japanese Wagyu to eat it medium.
Yeah, because you get a little more sizzle. The fat is more melted.
The fat renders more, and you know, like it's not the same medium as from you as the A primer.
Yeah, it's not tough.
Exactly.
So it's very tender, and so culturally now we get into this age of cultural sensitivity and cultural appropriation. When did you feel like you crossed the line? No, I'm saying because there's gonna be haters. I'm not a hater. Do what you want. There's America, the land of the free. That's why we have different cultures and why this is the melting pot. Because you're gonna have a guy from Brooklyn become fascinated with the culture of Wagyu beef, or you know, a kid from the hood who likes anime, or someone from anywhere
Well,
else who likes other things, right?
I'll stop you right there. It's not just the kid from the hood who likes anime. I grew up loving Naruto, loving
But
anime.
that's what I mean. It's universal.
Yeah.
There's things that
Like,
are
way
attractive
bef-
about
way
other
before-
cultures that are
like,
universal.
way before I ever thought
Yes.
about doing Wagyu beef, I really loved Japanese culture, specifically like anime, specifically like how beautiful Tokyo looks, all these different places.
Exactly. It's fascinating Japanese culture.
Absolutely fascinating.
And also in New York, we have a very strong Japanese community where you get to actually experience authentic Japanese food products and Japanese dining experiences.
What I'll tell you is, this is very, I mean, we can walk inside and prove this.
Yes.
The Japanese people 100% love the fact that we love Japanese Wagyu and we're spreading their product, right? Like, they're so happy with us that they're, they want to spread the word, they want to spread the love all around.
Yeah, because
the world.
that's their main, that's a big export,
And
right?
it's their top 3 export after automotives and technology. But yeah, meat is a huge export.
And we live in an age of an insecure food supply, and so I would say it's interesting to see that there's different ways to do it, and certain cultures have been doing it better for years, or in a place like America where we really respect cattle and we have a beef culture, that this culture, it can be appreciated. So back to my point, I was just saying, like, when do you feel like you crossed that point? Because you've obviously done your homework, you work with some great people. Hello. It's all good. You work with some great people, right? You have some great contacts. So like, the fact is, it must have been intimidating at first, but you just dove in head first, and now you can consider yourself a very strong expert or a budding expert or an authority on this topic, and only going to keep growing with this business. And so my point is, like, once you pass that point, what have you found in terms of like the contacts you've made, or within your supply, like the supply chain network, or just not necessarily asking to talk about who you work with, but I more just mean like, what has been that experience where you thought you might encounter resistance, but in fact doors are opening because you're daring to ask the right questions. You're not just doing it as a commodity. There's a real love, and I think that is how you transcend any kind of barriers.
I'll put a caveat on that. That only works with like genuine people, right? So like, I've been in this business for about 2 years now, a little over. I've met a lot of people from many different companies, many different distributors, many different states, many different backgrounds. And I'll tell you, a lot of this industry is very like scammy, very like piece of shit. Like it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not a very smooth industry. Now, the people that I've had the privilege to work with, the people at JSpec, the people that, my partners back in Japan, our counterparts, they're some of the most amazing, genuine people, and I haven't had that feedback from them. But everybody else, all my other competitors, that's exactly, like...
Like, what kind of bullshit did you encounter? Or anything that'd be relevant for people to know who are getting into business and never be afraid.
Before I even like had my contacts in Japan, where I like contact the people directly and buy from them directly, I was buying Japanese Wagyu beef here in the States.
Anywhere you can get it to try it.
Yeah,
right?
to try it, to get content, to do the. I mean, like when I first started, I didn't have the money to buy 1,000 kilos worth of beef.
Carcass,
to buy a whole carcass and bring it back here, but. People will tell you that they're giving you A5 Japanese Wagyu, and maybe they'll give you BMS 8, and BMS 8 is the lowest point of the marbling scale out of like.
BMS is the marbling
grade.
grade.
The marbling grade. It's A5 is between 8 and 12. As you go higher, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, it gets fattier, higher grade, more expensive. So I would come to the distributors domestically here in the US and be like, hey, I want A5 BMS 12. Do you have it? Yes, I have it. Awesome, great. I'd love to pay you for it. And it shows up to my house, and I've already worked with so much Wagyu that I'm like,
this is not BMS
this is not BMS 12, right? And I'm like, okay, fine, but why do you have to tell me it's BMS 12?
There's so much fraud in the food industry, especially in
exactly.
seafood and other.
Well,
that's why these
interestingly
certifications
enough,
exist.
10 years ago, I forgot what three-letter agency went after a bunch of restaurants, but many restaurants throughout the U.S., especially in New York,
Probably
actually,
the FTC, maybe the Federal Trade Commission.
Maybe the FTC actually went after restaurants because they marketed the fact that they were selling quote-unquote Japanese Wagyu when it's not real Japanese Wagyu. And now, if you go to a restaurant, you can actually ask to see a certificate of authenticity, and they're supposed to show it to you. Now, if they don't show it to you, that's a clear indication. That's a very good indication that it's not legitimate, Japanese A5 Wagyu beef. Now, there's obviously exceptions. Maybe they've lost the certificate. Maybe they showed it to somebody else. Who knows? I don't want to like put too much pressure on everybody. But I'll say there is a lot of scams going on, and you should definitely be careful where you try it, because there's definitely restaurants that are just like known, like you go there, you're gonna get real stuff. Go there, eat it, enjoy it, love it.
Relish the fact that you got what you paid for.
Exactly. Like it's one of those things. Like I love fine dining, and I've eaten at a lot of Michelin star rated restaurants, and a common theme amongst all of them is very small plates, and after dinner you're not full. You don't feel content or satisfied. And what I've noticed is if you go to a place like J-Spec, if you go to a place like Cote, for example, if you go to a place like other Korean or Japanese barbecue restaurants that like will serve you A5 Wagyu along with other cuts as well, obviously, you'll feel full. You'll feel fulfilled after the meal, and it's not like you're going to eat a Michelin star meal, you have a little plate and that's it, and it just looks good. You know what I'm saying?
Got it. So it's like it's there to help satiate your appetite and give you that like rewarding feeling. Yes. And then back to what we were saying about the grading is like, do you also include a certificate with people that purchase from your website? Like, how are you differentiating yourself from the Wagyu competitors? Because it's not, you're not the only one, and so I would say that's another key point is like you're in direct-to-consumer e-commerce, and you made this brand that visually is standing out because of the focus on the culture and on how you're positioning the product.
So the main way we stand out amongst our competitors is that we specifically only carry Japanese Wagyu beef. We carry A3 and A4, but the main premise is on A5. All of our other competitors, every single other e-commerce retail competitor is selling other types of Wagyu beef. They're selling American, they're selling Australian, they're selling USDA Prime, they're selling maybe like caviar, they're selling maybe other things. The only thing that we sell, and the only thing that we will ever sell, is authentic Japanese Wagyu beef. Even stronger statement, no matter how much money. You guys are out?
No, you're good, yeah. Take a break. All right, cool.
Sorry.
Do your thing. If you need us to move or anything, just let me know. Is that their?
Yes, that's and their team, and
okay, that's from team.
Yes.
And then the CJ's inside also.
Yes.
Oh, nice. All right, cool. So anyhow, so then back to what we were saying, that exclusively Japanese Wagyu. That's your commitment. And then, are we good for time, or you need to wrap up in a second?
No, we can.
Okay,
we can keep going.
So then I guess my point is that, what is your ambitions for 2024? Where are you taking the brand? Where are you taking the company? And also, what are we doing here today? Is there a special event? Hello. And so is there like a special occasion? So we're obviously standing in front of a restaurant in New York City. Why today? What can you give the audience a taste of what's coming?
So I guess the similar theme with what's happening at this restaurant, along with the vision and the goals for 2024, is to, we've been doing really well on our wholesale B2B side, but now we're going to really like hone in on mass scaling on advertising, mass scaling on social media, on marketing, all these different aspects, and really like stick our noses into many different industries. Like, for example, like I don't know if this is, obviously this is a goal for me for 2024. Okay. I don't know if it's going to happen in 24, but you got to shoot for the moon and land on the star, whatever.
Strive for perfection, settle for excellence. Yep.
I grew up watching soccer. I want Only Wagyu to be on one of the top football teams in the entire world. Maybe like Manchester United have Only Wagyu right on the center jersey. Right. That's coming one day. I don't care what the ROI on it is. I just want to say that I got it done.
That's fine.
Another thing, maybe like sponsoring a Formula One team. Those are very vast, big goals.
So this is goal to be an international brand.
International brand in every city, in every tourist city in the world where tourists go and they can enjoy beef. Right, not like places like in India that you can't really eat beef, but any other place you can eat beef, whether it's halal, whether it's kosher. I mean, kosher's coming soon. Whatever those things are, we want to cater to all of them.
Awesome.
Yeah,
no, you're good. This is all free flowing, man. I'm trying to be like y'all. No, it's all good. Yeah.
Sorry, one second.
Yo, so this is behind the scenes. There's content creation going. This is multi-layered content creation. You're good. So I'm here on the scene in New York City, creating content on top of content. This is like a little timeout behind the scenes. Logan had to go inside and work with his party. We can't get too much into the specifics, so I might edit this out, but there is a very YouTube, Instagram famous content creator who is a chef. He was clearly wearing chef clothes in case he creeped into the shot. Should have just quickly turned that. But anyway, let's go Rangers, by the way. Holla at your boy. Did we win, or you're on the way to the Garden? We did, yes. Keep that streak alive. So, anyway, there's a very YouTube, Instagram famous content creator here who is doing an event today with a very well-known sumo wrestler cooking very special Wagyu dishes for him to sample and eat. You know, they got to eat a lot to maintain their sumo wrestler figure and form. And so Logan here, Only Wagyu, is in the mix with that, supplying the products, and you know, it's a pretty remarkable thing. So we had to come all the way out here today. Shout outs to my assistant for helping me and being here. Thank you, young Jamie.
This one doesn't have
That is a cooler of that A5 Wagyu. This is like the great Wagyu heist of 2024. How much beef is in there?
350 pounds.
Of A5 Wagyu?
Yeah.
So
All
that-
different
That's
all
like
different carcass
that's
cuts.
like imagine my man rolling with a case of diamonds and a nondescript case of
Yeah.
Wagyu. No one knows except me. Like, you know, like, but imagine there's just like the equivalent would be if you just had like 8 human kidneys ready for sale on the black market. This might be worth more than that. So at E-commerce Hotline, we're not just trying to be the same old boring e-commerce podcast that you see everywhere, right? 2 people, split screen, talking. That's not what this is about. This is about something more. Like, just like we hear talk about passion of entrepreneurs, I'm passionate about broadcasting, recording, multimedia. That's actually what got me into making websites and doing e-commerce and web development. Believe it or not, since I was a little kid, my parents were artists. My dad was doing Adobe Illustrator in the early 90s. Hey, I always picked up on that, had fun with it, trying to make video games, trying to do this, trying to do that. And that's what led to the culmination of somehow doing websites at the intersection of e-commerce and multimedia. And so this podcast is a vision that was born when we recorded at a podcast studio in New Jersey, and it just got the bug, right? And you saw like, hey, this is what's possible if you build a studio and build a dream. So in our case, we have a studio, a amateur studio that's meant to look a little different and have a zany vibe, which is already putting us on a different level than just these living walls and 2 dudes in a room, which is what we're gonna do sometimes when we have actual in-person podcasts. But really, like I said, the goal of this is to do a different kind of e-commerce podcast, really telling the stories of entrepreneurs, telling why people got into this, really talking about what is it that motivates you. Because I think the biggest things in life is we all feel stuck, we all feel like we can't do it. But as you see different stories and you meet different people, there might be that one thing that sparks your inspiration to make a change in your life or do something different. And I think that's the message I'm trying to send, is one of positivity, one of helping people realize that they can do it too, and that nothing is impossible with hard work. You know, if you just work hard and you're passionate, those are 2 of the main ingredients of success and perseverance, right? You're going to encounter a lot of difficulty. You're done for now?
I'm gonna come back to you, but I need to put this
Do
in the
you?
car and then I just
Do
don't
you?
want that to break.
I like it. All right. So what I was saying about this is the possibilities of you doing something are really high. If you try hard, you don't give up, and you're passionate about what you're doing, that's really the recipe for success, because you're going to encounter a lot of difficulty. Like, you know, in this episode today where we're talking to Logan Miller, the founder of Only Wagyu, you don't think he's encountered difficulty, even if he has certain conditions which help him be more successful. You have to be motivated. You have to want to do it. And that to me is the hallmark of what you're going to see as a running theme on the e-commerce hotline. Anyone we talk to, anyone in partnerships, anyone who works at a SaaS company, anyone who works at a brand, they're there because they want to be. This isn't just a job. There's something behind it that makes them want to do this, because it's not the easiest industry. It's not something that ever ends. E-commerce is 24/7. The lights never close, right? The store never closes. It's a 24/7 business, truly. And even me personally, I'm happy I'm doing this podcast because it gets me able to connect with a different side of what we do instead of just being like, the cog in the machine and helping people run their brands. I want to showcase what people are doing and show a different side. And so, there's going to be more episodes like this. We're going to go man on the street. We're going to go to different businesses that are using e-commerce platforms like Shopify, and just see what it's all about, right? And see why people do what they do and how they ended up in the position they're in. So that's one of the ambitions for my e-commerce agency, to stand out amongst its peers, is to be known as a brand, right? Like as Yannick James, who worked with us and is a Maier affiliate and doing big things in the world. He is, he always said we're the supreme of e-commerce agencies. That's what we want to be. We want to be the supreme of e-commerce agencies because you see this brand everywhere. And so that's only going to grow. And that's one more why creativity is at the central theme and the passion of what we do, is being creative. It's not just about, I want to make money. It's not about just, hey, big business and sell it. Like, none of that ever appealed to me, which is why we make some of the mistakes we make. But it's about doing it for the love of what you're doing and wanting to just make a difference in this world. And so I think that's what makes us dangerous, is that, you're not just here for transactional relationships. You really want to see people succeed and thrive. And that's also why I came out today to interview Logan, is this is like a really cool occasion for his brand. I'm a big believer. We work with them on their website. You want to see them succeed. And sometimes you want to go that extra mile to be in the mix and be a part of that. And Logan is gracious enough to let me in here, do my guerrilla behind the scenes shooting, hopefully not pissing off too many people. We're not going to use all the footage from today, but basically, that's why I'm here. That's why I went out of my way on a Sunday to come here to get some interesting content, because it's definitely not going to pay the bills. It's just part of the overall fabric of what we're doing. This is the brand owner taking a much-earned smoke break.
Literally.
Smoking is back in style.
It's definitely not in style. I vape way too much, and this is what I'm trying to do not to vape. So definitely don't do either of that.
So smoking cigarettes still. That's the new quit smoking of smoking.
Bro,
is vaping. Here, come by in here. Just come right by.
I would knock down a vape every 24 hours. That's the equivalent of 5 packs of cigarettes.
That's bad. That'll hurt your lungs.
Of course you can.
Fuck cigarettes, but I still smoke.
Yeah. Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
Cigarettes, but I still smoke.
That's right, because it's America and you can do whatever the you want, man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. There you go. So, why don't y'all introduce yourselves real quick? This is Logan again, and you are?
CJ.
So, what do you do?
I'm the videographer for Only Wagyu and editor. Videographer and editor for Only Wagyu.
Nice. And Logan, tell me what CJ is bringing to the table and helping you as changing the paradigm of your brand.
CJ is the mastermind behind, he is the chief content officer. He is the mastermind behind all of the social media content that we already have and all of the social media content that we will ever have. On our website, on our social medias, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever it is, he's taking the pictures, taking the videos, editing them, doing an absolutely great job. We were actually here today at JSpec shooting a crazy video with Chef. We were able to take, we were able to take a bunch of footage, cutting up a bunch of different cuts from the carcass, all A5, up close, slow-mos, all of it, all this guy.
So, I'm just gonna get in the middle and then the
Sure.
mic will get picked up on both. So, you're basically shooting some really good food porn today, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
also behind the scenes of a creator who has 15 million views on YouTube, right? 15 million subscribers.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
so obviously his team, they were doing a bunch of photography, videography themselves, but CJ is
Shooting
the
on
chief.
YouTube.
Yeah, he's for Only Wagyu, so we're doing just specifically product-oriented photography, videography.
Yeah.
Nice snippets,
So this is
slow-mo.
because all the product was on display, so it's a perfect opportunity to catch in a restaurant setting all the beautiful cuts.
With a
Absolutely.
professional chef cutting through.
Professional chef cutting through it, different
Making
meals, different variations of
And
how
a
to cook
celebrity
Wagyu.
sumo wrestler.
A celebrity, 10-time world champion.
That was a 10-time world
Yeah.
champion.
10-time
outside there?
world champion sumo wrestler.
That's cool, man. That means
That's
that
cool, right?
I'm working my way up to not being starstruck around anyone. I seen 2 celebrities today and just acted like they were regular people.
Yep.
But then, technically this is meta because this is content creator me filming content creator you filming content creator him. There's a
Yes.
triple thread of content. This is like a content trifecta in cubism.
And in the best city in the world, right?
In
New
the
York.
best city in the world, where it's all happening, where you got all these cool people walking by on St. Patrick's Day, just doing their thing. Okay, so then I'm just gonna ask this question again. What are you excited for this year? What's next? Because rumor has it you guys are going on an exclusive trip to Japan.
Yes. So we're going to be taking a 14-day trip to Japan. We're going to be visiting all the farms that we buy the goods from. We're going to be filming the processes. We're going to be filming the drive up there, literally all parts of the farm. We're going to be going to the slaughterhouse. We're also going to be participating in an exclusive auction that only the biggest importers around the world get to have access to, and we're going to be able to bid on like Kobe carcasses, the whole different variations of the finest A5 Japanese Wagyu, and people from all around the world come and they bid at this auction. There's also there's going to be a Kobe beef ceremony, and we're going to have a barbecue under the sakura blooming leaves with the cherry blossoms.
Yeah, I just visualized that, and that's gonna be amazing, right?
Yeah,
Some
we're gonna
life-changing
get-
shit.
We're gonna have
time.
content for the next fucking year to post. It's
That's awesome. And you ever been in Japan or no?
Never been to
Have
Japan.
you? No.
I've never been to Japan.
It's one of my dreams to go to Japan. He wants to go to Japan, right? Young Jamie likes Japan. Yeah, so that's gonna be amazing. Can't wait to see that.
But as far as 2024 goals, I mean, we're literally just looking to grow as big as humanly possible and
Take over socials, push hard on the
take over
content.
socials, yeah. And honestly,
gonna be big.
a good realistic goal I'll set for is moving our business and expanding to Dubai, UAE, Qatar. That's one of
My
our
man's going international in 24.
That's
Let's go.
that's one of our biggest goals. We already have a bunch of inquiries from food distributors, different people. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It just it's going to take some time for us to set up shop there, and once we do, I mean, we're going to kill it out there too.
So the sky's the limit. And then I guess I have one more side question before we ask a little more directly about how people can find you. Is what is the appetite for luxury beef? What is the appetite for consumers right now? Like, what's the vibe you're feeling? Like,
Well, I'll talk about, I guess, the landscape of dining as a whole. What I've seen is we're, as a society, I guess in the US, we're shifting towards healthy, very expensive foods, and people are caring very, very much about what they put into their bodies, which wholeheartedly sure, it's a great thing. There's obviously cons to it, just makes things much more expensive. But I guess the appetite specifically, when you eat Wagyu, I want you to have the biggest appetite, and I don't want you to eat for the last 6 hours. I want you to have a big empty stomach ready to be filled with delicious
that's me right
meat.
now. Like, if I go inside and eat some of this Wagyu at J-Spec, I didn't eat since this morning. So
Yeah, you'd be
I'm ready.
delicious.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the way to go.
Yeah. And as the new, content creation officer, the head of content, have you gotten to eat way more Wagyu than you ever expected?
I have. We had our first shoot at Logan's apartment back in Miami, and we cooked some beautiful Wagyu on a nice Japanese yakitori grill.
Yup.
Yakitori grill.
And you're gonna sell those too one day, right?
Yeah, we're definitely gonna be including the yak. Well, it's gonna be a secret gift with our subscription services. They're gonna be dropping.
That's amazing.
Dropping in a couple months, and stay tuned. We're not gonna be selling them directly, but it'll be a gift to our most loyal customers.
Well, that's amazing because I think that is something we were talking about recently. Is like you can get if people know what they're going to get through repeat purchases, they will be more likely to purchase more.
Absolutely.
So many brands don't let people know. So if you actually advertise, hey, if you buy twice or you do this, you're going to get this. It makes it that much more intense. Like, the feeling of I want to buy. And then back to what you were saying, it's like that is an unexpected perk of the job, is eating all this luxurious beef. So anyone who wants to get involved with Only Wagyu, one thing we can promise you is beef. You will eat some Wagyu.
Yes, if you work for our company, if you partner with our company, the first thing you got to do is try Wagyu beef. Like I don't let anybody join on our team until I've cooked them a nice either strip loin or ribeye, and like I said earlier, it gives the same reaction every single time without a doubt.
It's so good.
We will respect you if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, but you may not be able to work with the company if you can't appreciate it.
I mean, hey, look, care a lot about talent. If somebody is very talented and they're
Okay.
vegan, I'll let them come on board, but I will rub it in their face that it's the best meat ever. And if they ever considered,
Like stepping their toe-
yeah,
stepping
if they
outside
ever
the box.
considered, towing the gray line, I would suggest trying Japanese A5 Wagyu beef.
I think that's really shrewd, because if you were gonna, make an exception to your vegetarian
You might
or
as well
vegan
do the
rule,
best.
it might as well be the best beef on the planet.
The best
and
beef you've ever tried.
Has been treated really well.
Yes,
Has
treated well,
been treated
exactly.
humanely before it's been slaughtered for human consumption.
Absolutely.
Meaning it didn't go to waste. Yes, it
It
existed
lived
to become
3
a
times
product.
longer than usual cows too. I mean,
Okay,
the
fun
Japanese,
fact.
fun fact: Japanese cattle live anywhere between 30 to 40 months, comparatively to U.S. cattle that lives anywhere between 12 to 14 months.
And what are like the operating conditions that they're kept in? Is it like more pasture, or like what's the? Obviously varies farm to farm. Don't quote
Yeah,
me out.
it definitely varies farm to farm. There isn't too much like free ranging. Like I know some
Okay.
farms here in the U.S. like have super big plots and like do like free range stuff. I don't think I've seen many like free range farms, but what I'll say is the Japanese culture, and from everything that I've seen going into Japanese restaurants, even anywhere you go, it's the cleanest thing ever. I mean, just the kitchen inside was
Yeah.
absolutely immaculate.
Spotless,
Just
right?
spotless. There's not
So
one
clean.
speck of dust. And it's the same thing at the farms, right? Like, you have a farm where the cows are shitting and pissing everywhere. It is so fucking clean. Like,
Really?
just from the videos that I've seen, and I can
Yeah.
only imagine.
You're gonna
more.
see it
Yeah,
firsthand.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
see it firsthand.
Well, that's really cool. So like, yeah, there's a lot of food for thought there. Literally food for thought. But like,
Literally.
there's a lot there that goes into it. So I hope this has been an introspective look at the Wagyu industry and what one man's vision is. So Logan, why don't you tell the people where they can find your product, how they can engage with your brand, get on the mailing list, and actually buy from Only Wagyu.
Yes. I mean, just as the name represents, OnlyWagyu.com website, go on social media. Check us out online. We have Wagyu representatives at all hours during the day to answer any of your questions, help you with your purchases, tell you about the benefits, so on and so forth. If you need any wholesale inquiries, such as if you're a restaurant, if you're a food distributor and you're interested in I don't know,
Or-
perhaps lowering your prices, getting better quality, all on our website.
Yeah, or if you are watching this video and you're in the e-commerce community and you want to see some good Wagyu come to your town or locality, talk to this man.
Yeah,
Talk to
absolutely.
your favorite restaurateur in your town or your city, and then hook them up with this guy, because he can get them that
Absolutely.
fine Wagyu on the menu where you live. And I think, so you're kind of like a Wagyu evangelist in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so how can people find Only Wagyu products? What's the main way to buy them right now, and where do we follow you on social media?
Yeah, so obviously, as the name suggests, just go on Google, Safari, whatever search engine you use, onlywagyu.com, ONLYWAGYU.com. Go on any social media, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Twitter, YouTube, Only Wagyu.
That's his department. Every channel is going to be covered.
That's his department. Every channel is going to be covered with the most immaculate content you have ever seen. Not one content piece that we're going to put out is going to be subpar.
No B-grade content.
No B-grade
Not like
content.
this shit. Nah, just kidding.
But yeah, you could buy our products directly online, and you could speak to one of our representatives about your purchase, speak to them about wholesale opportunities, whether you're a restaurant, food distributor, or whether you're just a casual steak enthusiast, meat connoisseur that wants to try Japanese Wagyu and legit, authentic Japanese Wagyu. And most importantly, fresh, right? We import every 2 months, and we don't freeze our products. We don't freeze our products because I've tried frozen Japanese Wagyu beef before, and it makes a difference. It's not the same. It loses its color. It loses its marbling. It loses its prettiness. Its exquisiteness,
Yeah,
if
so
you will.
It's a visual experience, it's a taste experience, it's a smell experience, it's the 5 senses we're trying to activate here. And
Yes.
and then I guess one more point on that is, are you offering any exclusive introductory coupon codes for people? An offer?
Yes. I'll put it this way: if the people that are watching this can find me, they will get their coupon code. If they can
Alright.
find me,
If you
Logan
say you
Miller.
saw Logan Miller
Yeah.
on the e-commerce hotline, we'll hook you up. It's good. Yeah, but yeah. So that's his word from the owner. special, something special, at least a
If
really
you
nice
if
figure.
you've watched this podcast, you watch E-commerce Hotline, or you know Maier Bianchi, I want you to personally contact me, and I will give you a coupon code. One that I can't talk about here because it is too good to say it online.
good.
It's too good.
You gotta ask, you gotta engage. This is humanity. We gotta go person to person.
It's the real
Don't
friends
just
and
hide behind
family.
a keyboard.
It's the real friends and family
Don't just
discount
hide behind
code.
a keyboard. All right, so this is now directed by
Yes.
CJ. We have a guest director, CJ. What's your last name?
Don't even try.
Okay.
Badenhurst? How do you pronounce it?
Badenhorst.
I
All
like
right,
that. That's
we
a
got
cool-
this
Mr.
exclusive-
Badenhorst.
Yeah, this segment is directed by CJ Badenhorst. He is the content creative director for Only Wagyu. So anyway, this is the outro now. I just want to thank my guest, Logan Miller from Only Wagyu, for taking time out of his photo shoot, on a photo shoot, to take time to talk to us today. And as I'm saying, at the E-commerce Hotline, we're not just trying to do your traditional boring e-commerce podcast. This is something fresh, something new. We really want to show the stories of entrepreneurs and what they're doing. Walk on by, all good. We just want to show the stories of entrepreneurs and them really putting their passion into their brand so that you know whatever it is you want to do, perseverance. What'd you say? She flipped me off?
She just turned around and cursed at us. Oh, whatever.
Really?
Okay, yeah, keep going.
Really? I was saying you can walk
That's
by.
great.
I
That's
wasn't
crazy.
being sarcastic. Sorry. This is New York City. It's where we're from, man. You got to just take it going. Hello, folks. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Same to you.
Yeah, so anyway, we're definitely keeping that in. So anyway, what I was saying is you don't have to put yourself in a box. Even if you're 30 years down the road in one career, you can do another. That's what the theme of E-commerce Hotline is. Welcome by. Yeah, please. Thank you so much for asking. You know, that's the theme of the E-commerce Hotline is, here, come on through. That's the theme of the E-commerce Hotline is that anything is possible if you work hard, you're passionate, and you persevere. And thank you, Logan, for
Thank
coming
you.
out today.
Appreciate it.
Bye. I'm Maier Bianchi. This is E-commerce Hotline, signing off. Bye.
If you need help with e-commerce but don't have time, call the e-commerce hotline. If you need help to make your store shine, call the e-commerce hotline. Your store needs improving, don't deny. Gotta call e-commerce hotline. Call 888-499-3266. Your store will be fine. 888-499-3266. Make your store shine. E-commerce hotline. E-commerce hotline.